Jack, tell us who you are, what you were doing before AI entered the picture, and just walk us through your, let's say, last 5 years, what you did and what you're doing now.
Sure. I before AI kind of entered the picture for me, I had been a visual effects artist for like almost over a decade. At that point, it would have been. So I kind of worked my way up from the very bottom of the ladder, as you kind of often have to do in creative industries. I kind of invested a lot of my own time to learn 2D compositing softwares like Flame and Nuke. Eventually developed a decent reputation for myself in the kind of advertising world and visual effects world here in the UK. So I kind of worked my way up to a nice position with good pay and all of that stuff at a really good company, to be fair. And then just got, like a lot of people, I think, very curious about AI and what it was capable of doing, what all doors, sorry, it was capable of opening. And so I just had to dive in. I had to start experimenting, and I was just so impressed with how quickly it had all developed, essentially. And for me, I think it really, around the time of Nano Banana, when that kind of came out, and I realized that you were able to take like a starting image and kind of flesh that out into multiple camera angles. That was a real kind of light bulb moment for me, where I realized that AI had essentially gone from being just like a little bit of a gimmick and more of like a way to show off from a technical perspective to a legitimate filmmaking tool. And obviously that also feeds into advertising as well, because I really tend to think of ads as almost like mini films. Like, they still rely on a lot of the same sort of storytelling techniques and visual language, even if they're just a lot more compressed in terms of scope, essentially. So yeah, just, experimenting with the tools at that time, I realized that how much potential there was in them. And so I started experimenting with them in my own time, and quickly realized it was something I was excited about and passionate about. And what I sought to do was essentially combine all of my years of experience, both when it comes to visual effects and advertising, with my kind of newfound love of AI, to teach people online about how they could actually use the tools to either, carry out their own creative projects, whether it was just something they wanted to work on for themselves, or if they were maybe in a job or a position in their lives where they weren't particularly happy or fulfilled, and wanted a bit more income, they could actually use AI to essentially create assets like brand and product ads and things like that, and actually sell that to a client. The goal being to basically improve people's lives and hand over creative control to them, where before AI there were so many sort of technical roadblocks. And that for me is the great thing, and why nowadays things feel very different in the creative sector, I think.
That's for sure like an interesting background. I know you spoke it a few times that you were working in an agency. Like, they were also mad. They not mad, but like they didn't want you to go when you told them you want to leave.
Yeah.
But you're like coming from that background. I think that's a big plus, especially since there's a lot of people like myself who don't have that background.
Mm.
And for you to teach us on YouTube, obviously you even have a school community now. You have the YouTube where you teach others. You have your own projects on the side. Like, when you take a look at it right now, when you compare it to the old life, are you more than happy right now the way it's playing everything out? Like, how do you even like manage all of that? 'Cause that's a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, it's funny. I had a call for my school community this morning, and I sort of touched on this, that nowadays I
Okay.
try to give myself a little bit more of an easier time. Obviously, I'm looking to expand the YouTube channel, so I'm actively looking for, like editors and motion graphics artists and things to take a bit off my plate. But I actually reduced the amount of output on the channel as well a couple of months back. Where I was previously putting out 4 or 5 videos a month, I now tend to just do 3, sometimes 4 at a push, just to try to take a little bit off my plate, and hopefully mean I can be a bit more present for my wife and my kids. In terms of how I managed, that's one thing that I've done deliberately to reduce the workload. I just try to stay as organized as I can. You know, I keep everything laid out in Notion. I think that's a really useful app to kind of organize myself, from both like a creative perspective, but also like a logistical perspective as well. I'm quite brutal when it comes to like incoming like brand deals and stuff. When I get reached out to by various brands via email, to be honest with you, if it's something that doesn't instantly resonate with me, I just delete the email like straight away. I think it's quite brutal, and maybe it comes across in not a very nice way, but it's just the reality of like where I'm at, and I am at this point a one man team. Like I've had offers of representation from some really good agencies and things who represent
Hmm.
other AI creators, but
Oh, okay.
ultimately, I felt like for me, um, I think I've got a decent handle on it now. Like it can still get a little bit overwhelming and stuff, but I think the longer you do it, you come up with all these little tricks and ways to kind of utilize your time as effectively as you can, and stop making as many mistakes as well. Like, and just you can kind of borrow things from previous successes. You know, I try to look at a lot of my old videos that have done well and borrow as much as I can from them without just redoing them, because what's the point? Same thing goes for, like overall ideas and thumbnails and everything like that. And I think that just makes it a bit easier. On the direct to client work side, where I'm actually working direct with agencies and things, that can be a little bit more tricky. That can be one of those things. It's really hard. I'm very thankful for that work, and it's a very intentional thing to kind of keep one foot in the door of the advertising industry. Just because of the nature of content, you never quite know. At the minute, things are really great, but you don't know where I'll be at in 6 months, a year or two, whatever. So it's a very intentional thing to do. So I'm very grateful that the opportunity is there, but it can feel a bit like like so much of me creatively goes into the YouTube work that whenever an opportunity comes up to take on some freelance stuff in the ad industry, I can be a bit like, oh, I can't be bothered to do that, which is terrible. But just being completely transparent, but it's very important. And I'm very fortunate to work with some very both kind and talented people who
Hmm.
are in that advertising industry. I think it's really important as well. It's like in the moment, I can feel a bit like I just want to have some downtime. But when I'm in the middle of like a creative project, for a real ad agency, rather than making something hypothetical for my videos, I'm actually building a real piece for a real brand. I think it's really important because it goes on to inform my content, and give me like real tangible examples of what does and doesn't work. And it also acts as a little bit of proof as well for, I get comments every now and then, as we all do in this niche, of people saying that, AI, like, it looks cool, but it's not actually functional, and no agency is going to pay for this. And at least I can go back to them and say, look, I'm actively working with really huge agent. I can't annoyingly say who they are, but
Yeah.
I'm working with really big agencies here in the UK. I've done plenty of direct to client work. There is demand for this work, whether it's generated using traditional methods or AI.
Hmm.
I think it's just about honing your craft, becoming a good storyteller, and learning how to make stuff that doesn't feel like AI, or at
Yeah.
least have the viewer kind of go, if that was made by AI, that's really impressive. So yeah.
Do you do most of these projects on your own, or do they come like with some type of a team where at least, you can, I guess, give something to other people and you can focus on other stuff, or is it mostly that you do pretty much everything?
So when I was first starting out, and I think a lot of people kind of go for this approach. When I first transitioned from my full time job into being a creator, obviously the great thing about AI, as you kind of touched on already, is that I've got multiple revenue streams. And when I
Mm-hmm.
first made the switch, like I was, if I'm honest, like pretty terrified and felt a lot of pressure to kind of cultivate as many of these revenue streams as I possibly could. And so I was doing a lot. I was doing far, far, far too much work. Like I said, 4 or 5 YouTube videos a month, on top of like tons of direct to client work where I'd be working with agencies, directors, just any manner of like creative professional, basically, and doing a lot of the, for lack of a better term, like grunt work, like actually actively generating assets for them myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just wasn't sustainable long term with the amount of different things that I've got going on. So now I've kind of pivoted into more of like a role where I offer almost like consultation and a bit more of like a leadership role where I oversee other people who may be doing more of the generations. For my YouTube work, I still generate everything myself, and that's a very deliberate decision at this stage, because again, I think there's value in a similar way to how I'm still embedded to some extent in the advertising industry, to be the person who's clicking the generate button and dealing with the poor results that you get and then getting excited about the good results that you get. Like, I think that's really important because it informs the videos that I make. So yeah, to answer your question, for my own YouTube stuff, I'm a one-man team currently. I do every single, like, come up with all of the ideas, generate everything, record my videos myself, edit my videos myself, do my own thumbnails. Everything is fully a
Editing too.
one-man team. But when it comes to the direct-to-client stuff, specifically when I'm working with advertising agencies, I try to, yeah, stay within that lane of like more of a leadership or consultation role.
Yeah, I think that is also better for you because you have that credibility, especially, so you don't
Mm.
have to do the dirty work, I guess. Let me put it
Yeah.
that way. And I know when it comes to creating YouTube videos, for example, me, I'm just starting out. Like, I don't have that much subscribers as you do, and
Mm.
I'm not on the same quality level as you are, but it still takes a lot of time. Like, it still
Oh
takes
yeah.
a lot of,
Yeah.
sitting down, generating an idea, then editing. I didn't even know you edited yourself, so that's also like that takes up a lot of time too.
Yeah, it's something like I said, touched on earlier. Like I've been desperately trying to find the right editor, and it's actually really hard. I mean, I've trialed close to 10 different editors now, with a goal to find somebody who's both kind of has a grasp of like storytelling and
Hmm.
pacing, and understanding what the viewer wants to see and hear, alongside the part that I can't do, which is more of like the After Effects side of building like motion graphics and kind of animated workflows and diagrams and things like that to make the video feel a bit more professional and dynamic. That's not in my wheelhouse, so that's really what I'm looking for. But yeah, currently the thing that I keep finding is that I will employ a freelance editor, and what they give me back is actually either like like 5% better than what I could have done myself, but it took X amount of revisions to get there, or actually worse than what I could have done myself. And in which case, it's like I'm in the AI niche, like I need to get this out. So a lot of the time, I end up backtracking and just saying I'll just do it myself, which is a bit rubbish because it costs me time and money. But I'm willing to put the effort in to find the right person. I think that's the thing. I try to set the bar really high, when it comes to my content. But yeah, like you say, it does put quite a lot on my plate, which is something I'm actively trying to improve.
I believe that. Is there like, for example, end goal you see yourself at? I mean, I know you're doing, for example, right now everything alone,
Mm,
but you obviously know if you had a team behind you, a lot of stuff would be easier. And also, you would probably like, especially when it comes to revenue, would be at another level. When it comes to YouTube, you would also grow much easier. Is
yeah.
that something that you're thinking about long term, like having a smaller team around you, or is it right now just, I guess, solo doing everything?
No, I would like to build a team. It just has to be the right kind of team. I don't think I'd ever want, even if I grew to like, 200 or 300K on YouTube, which touch wood, hopefully at one
Mm-hmm.
point, I think I kind of reached that. Um, I'd still want it to be a very small team. Like I said, I'd love to have like one or two editors at the minute. I
Mm-hmm.
think that would really help me out, but it's difficult to find the right people that you
Yeah.
like
The
trust,
A
that you can
players.
kind of rely on. Yeah, exactly. I think expansion is a really tricky one because it's all about um, obviously increasing your output and therefore your profit whilst remaining in creative control. It's kind of a balance of the two things. So that's why I'd want to keep it to a small team. And I think ultimately, I'd love to have somebody who, again, I'm not really sure what this role would be called, but somebody who I could kind of bounce ideas off of and talk a little bit about like pacing and scripting and things like that. The thumbnail side of things, I actually really like making my own thumbnails. Funnily enough, I make my thumbnails using Nuke, which is one of the compositing softwares I would have used in my day job. So it kind of like feels a bit nostalgic for me in a way. To It's not actually built for that, but I sort of use it a bit like Photoshop to do layering and color grades and sharpening,
Mm.
and like figure out the positioning and little tweaks to the AI. I generally AI generate my thumbnails and then add my own tweaks to it afterwards using the compositing software. I quite like doing that. I don't know whether I'd ever even want to hand that over. So there's certain things that I feel very like I want to still have full ownership and control of. And then there's
Yeah.
other things that like the editing and like maybe somebody who would act as more of like an advisory role, where I think
Mm.
those contributions would still have me in a good spot where I'm still like very much like the kind of figurehead, and I don't want to become just like the face of the brand and like the presenter. I still want to be the guy who, like we said, is like clicking generate and running into the problems and things like that. So yeah, I think it would be about a balance when it comes to expansion, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, at what point you obviously have to do that. You'll have to expand, especially when the channel grows.
Mm,
So it's better you start now to actually look for those A players, like Alex Ramosi says. You gotta invest a lot of money in those people if
mm,
you want to have good quality on your team. Like I see a lot of YouTubers. I remember them watching back in the days, the quality was on top, and then the more subscribers they got, the less the quality actually got. I don't know, maybe it's the team, maybe they just got lazy, who
mm.
knows? Like everything has its own, I guess, problems, responsibilities. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's something
it's a
that
tricky balance to find, I think, and
Mhm.
it's not easy. I'm kind of sympathetic to that. I can see why that would happen to some channels. And I think it's a hard one because you kind of can think, oh, they just wanted the money type thing and they just kind of sold out. But I don't know whether that's always the truth. I think maybe it can sometimes be a bit more complicated than that.
I
Um,
mean, if you find like right people who actually see your mission, like, okay, I have this vision, I want to be there. Like,
yeah.
if you want to help me, you're obviously gonna get also something out of it. You're gonna learn. You're gonna have a good job. You're just working in a theme in a team where you actually love it, like to do. You also do the stuff you want to do. It's not like somebody's forcing you to do it. Like when you find those type of people, everything gets easier because if you have, for example, an editor, he knows everything what you need, everything you want, like when it comes to videos. It's obvious that he's gonna try more, especially if he gets at the end of the day also maybe some percentage of the video, how the video does. Like motivation nowadays is a lot of money, unfortunately, but
Mm,
I guess that's fair. Okay, so the next question would be the new tool came out, Seedance 2.5. I
mm.
know you recently did a video about Seedance 2.5, which I also watched. I enjoyed it. But what has changed in your work now when you like compare it? Especially, I know we have now 15 reference images that we can upload to Seedance 2.5. Even though I think, in my opinion, that's a little bit too much. Like, who's gonna upload that many images? But like, what did that unlock for you as a filmmaker that wasn't possible with 2.0? Like, is there something you were excited about, or is it just, I guess more marketing than it is?
I think there's definitely a degree of that, to be honest with you. And I think even I'm not, even that the marketing can even affect me. Like it works on me sometimes. I get excited about the whole 15 reference, or how, no, 50, isn't it?
Yeah,
50
50.
references. Um, but yeah, like eventually, I think there's like whenever any new type of technology or tool comes out, you always go into it with rose tinted glasses, and eventually the honeymoon phase wears off. And when you've used it enough, you start to realize, excuse me, what it's good at and what it maybe isn't so good at. For me, I think the only real thing I care about with 2.5 is the fact that you can generate up to 30 seconds. I think that in itself is really powerful. Um, just for the fact that, I've mentioned in my videos, there are plenty of like TV ads, especially social ads, that literally last 30 seconds. So there's the possibility of, with the right workflow and image references and prompt, and the right person at the end of the pipeline who's a good editor and understands sound design and pacing and such, to actually create like an entire pretty high quality ad from like a single generation, if you hit a home run, or maybe like 2 or 3 generations if you've done your prep work correctly. So that for me is really exciting, and I think that's as a technical achievement for ByteDance, to be able to allow you to hit that button and you get back a 30-second generation is a big deal. I think in some ways, again, like, I need to do more and more and more testing. But in some ways, it feels like a slight regression to me, which is really odd. I don't know why that would happen, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like it isn't. It seems to really love chucking music into your generations, which is not, whilst it's quite impressive, like from a technical standpoint, again, touching it in my recent videos, it can be really hard to source your own music and time it to match the sequence that you're making. So it's good in that perspective, but there are times when you want to just be able to prompt that away, like add a constraint to your prompt and not have it there, and have the flexibility to be able to add your music in the edit. So the fact that it seems to just throw music into your generations, I find quite frustrating, especially from like more of a professional workflow perspective, I would say. And also, like, we can't generate in 4K, like we're locked into 1080p. So I personally think the best like video generation tools are, like, for certain use cases, I would go to 2.5 if I wanted to tell a whole story that actually feels consistent. I think that's the kicker, is the fact that you can generate a 30-second video that all feels like it lives in the same world, and the location feels consistent, the characters feel consistent, and then you can cut the shots up and piece them together in your edit however you want. If you want the shot to be a bit shorter, if there's a little error that you want to cut out, play around with the pacing, all of that stuff. But then if I wanted a better degree of control, I would probably still use Seedance 2, I think, to be honest with you. There are plenty of times when 15 seconds is enough. And I mean, just on the whole, I think ByteDance are just absolutely killing it. I think, say what you want about how they've trained the models, which is clearly with, footage that they shouldn't have used, or got in some kind of dodgy way. Like, I have to hand it to them. Like, they're absolutely dominating the AI video market, in my opinion. But yeah, if I were to work on a project, be that my own or like a direct client piece, I would be using both Seedance 2 and 2.5 as well.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's using any other models right now. Kling has kind of died off, even though it was very good when it came out. Like, everyone was surprised with it. Google Veil, I don't know, they stopped. Like, are they on a vacation? I don't know what's going on
Yeah,
there.
it's
And
really strange. It's I think a lot of us in the niche were expecting. Yeah, I mean, I can say that with my chest. Like, we were waiting for VO4 to come out like earlier on in the year,
mm,
and ended up getting Gemini Omni, which is was a bit of a curveball, to be honest. I mean, I can even, if I open up my Notion, I've still got like a plan for VO4. Like, that's how ready I was to start using the tool, and I'd written the intro and everything, which is crazy, and it just never came. So I mean, there's a lot of different opinions I could have on that, and a lot of it would be just probably jumping to conclusions. There's a world where maybe they just feel that ByteDance are so ahead that maybe they focused on the whole, like, we want to be the nano banana of video vibe, because at least we can do that, and at least that has some kind of benefit to the user, rather than, maybe again, I'm speculating, but maybe VO4 was ready to go at launch, and they just compared it to Seedance 2 and just thought, like,
it's not worth it.
yeah, like what's the point? Like this is just borderline
I don't know. I
pointless and
think also
embarrassing.
if they come out with new models, like each of these competitors, they try to output like one on another. You know what I mean? Like they try to
Mm,
be better than the other one. And I think, like for example, we have now Seedance Super 5, which is 30 seconds. The next tool that comes out could be up to a minute. But
yeah.
like in my head, if I'm thinking about that, like the more we get, I think it worse it gets. Because
Hmm.
like if I have to prompt a video in one take that is up to 60 seconds, am I really gonna do it? Like I have to write a really good prompt. It's
Yeah.
gonna take me a lot of
There's
time.
a lot of
And
room for
do I
error,
have
isn't there?
control over the videos? I don't think so. So like
Yeah.
when are they gonna cap something? Like I'm actually kind of excited, but also like not worried, but more curious. Like what's gonna be next? Like what is coming next? Have you thought about it? Like what is something that we actually could be getting, or what is something that we need but we still haven't got it?
I think you're right. Like you raise a lot of good points. I think it will get to a point of maybe you're able to generate like 60 seconds or 90 seconds of video, and it does get to a point where like is that purely just for the sake of it? And there's you're spending so many credits to get something that could just be littered with problems due to just like one tiny error in a huge prompt. And I like I say, I always try to apply my VFX background and kind of filmmaking brain to these tools, and you kind of get to a point where, you know, on a real film set, would you really leave the camera running for a full 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? And the only time I can think of that being viable would be for one of those amazing, by the way, like continuous shots that you might see in is it 1917? I think that's the name of the movie. That's got some really good like sequences where like the camera just doesn't cut, or if it does cut, it's kind of like a hidden cut. Or another really good like you got a good example in Birdman as well, and Children of Men's got an amazing. I think there's multiple in Children of Men actually. That's if anyone listens to this hasn't seen Children of Men, by the way, that is an incredible movie. So that's the only real time I can think where, being able to generate sequences that last that long would actually be beneficial. Um, you know, Generally on like an actual film set, you're really just like you're filming very short pieces of action and then it all gets pieced together in the edit. And I think that's probably the most beneficial way to think about AI tools is to generate things, you know, even just individual shots or just a short sequence and then build up your project like that rather than trying to just like generate like a massive sequence that could just present more problems than it solves. For me, it's more about I think I would like to maybe push it up to 60 to 90 seconds and then just stop because I think it just stops being helpful. I'd be a lot more interested in, like increases in resolution, like, you know, 4K output would be pretty amazing. And I'm sure we'll get there one day. Um, Higher frame rates, again, like applying like professional workflows to these tools. We seem to be locked at like 24 FPS, which is not that great. I'd love to be able to get up to like 60 and like 60 FPS and maybe even beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really good. I'd also love, and again, maybe this exists and I've just never heard of it, but thinking from a professional workflow once again, like when you generate it being able to output separate passes for the generation. So like a pass where you've already got there are tools that can kind of do this, but a pass where you've got like maybe like a depth map or like a alpha mask of your subject or like
Okay.
individual subjects to be able to allow you to have a bit more control and like be able to use that for compositing or color grading, something like that. I think those things are a lot more beneficial, especially if you're actually like working with ad agencies or like
Mm-hmm.
real clients. I think like the run time, if you want to call it like the generation length, it definitely gets to a point where it's just they're just flexing for the sake of it, like. And I can't see myself. It's similar to as you touched on, like the the 50 references you can now put into Seedance, I can't think of a single like AI filmmaker or creator who would ever go anywhere close to that. Like, you're going to top out at probably like 10 image references max, like
Mm.
maybe one or two audio references. And like, I'm on the fence about using video references at all. Like, so I think some of it is gimmicky shit, but I think for the fact that you can now generate 30-second sequences is pretty stunning. I just hope that the tools continue to better themselves in the
Yeah,
right
to
way.
improve themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. Yeah, that would be the best. Like we don't need more new tools, especially like we got Seedance, Kling is there also,
Mm,
Veil, like that's it. But like I think the most important part would be just getting the models better, like Seedance 2.5 V2 or something like that, where the characters look actually more realistic. I mean,
mm,
that also like depends on the way how you create these videos, which brings me to the question, what do you think is like the number one mistake like most people are doing? Is it more when it comes to prompting, or is it just that they have like bad, I guess, starting frames, or is it completely something else? Like, especially, from the community, I'm sure there's a lot of people asking you questions. You
mm.
probably have caught up on something, on some pattern.
Yeah, I think it's the the biggest problem is people skipping the sort of what I'd call the pre-production stage, or like maybe just not investing enough time into it. I think ultimately, like, what I love about these tools is they've allowed me to tell stories and kind of explore ideas that I otherwise couldn't.
Mm,
But I think, and again, like a phrase I always come back to is like the idea is king. Like, and as humans, I think we like ultimately a lot of what our kind of existence comes down to is storytelling. Like, you could think back to like thousands of years ago where cavemen would have been sat around a fire and like telling each other a story, and how that story could have got passed down for thousands of years and now become like, I don't know, a completely new story, and so many different tangents of kind of like spawned from it. And
mm,
it's just it's almost like stories take on a life of their own after a while, and there's so many different ways to interpret them. So I think as people, like, we love to, we're not necessarily all good at telling stories. I think people who are storytellers are very gifted. You can think of some of the most talented directors working now: Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve. Like, these guys are clearly like just have the gift of
yeah.
storytelling, being able to take these incredibly complex ideas and distill them in a way that's both like thought provoking and like engaging for the viewer. But I think ultimately, like, as people as well, we love hearing stories. So like it's about like learning how to find a story that matters to people, and then how you actually convey that story in a way where people care and it offers some level of value to people, whether they're learning something from it, whether they're just purely being entertained, or whether they're like, whether you're having your views like actively challenged. That can be like a really good one, and AI can definitely facilitate that, I think. But it's all comes down to the idea. And if you, like, at the end of the day, and again, it sounds kind of harsh, but like, if your ideas are terrible, it doesn't matter how good you are at using traditional methods for filmmaking. So if you've got a huge budget and you pay you're backed by a studio and you go and make some like terrible movie with like A-list celebrities in it, that's still going to do badly, probably.
Yeah.
Versus whether you had a terrible idea and you made it with AI, like that. And that's what gives me a lot of faith. And that's why, I think people basically watch my videos, is because like the idea is the life force behind anything, and it doesn't matter whether it's a big budget movie, an AI short film, a song, a book. Like, the idea has to have a soul to it. It has to have a reason for existing. And if it doesn't, then you can spend all the credits in the world on something. And if you're making it for yourself and to build your own brand or whatever, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to care. If you're making it for a client, like they might think it's all right, but it probably won't perform in the way that they'd hope. So yeah, it's just the biggest piece of advice I'd give for people is like really spend time on the pre-production. Get your idea in a good place, plan the story, like enjoy that part
Mm,
as well. Like again, whether this is your own project, like a short film or an ad for a client, like really try and think outside the box and tell a story that's unique and like memorable and like maybe even shocks the viewer a little bit, and get your image generations in a really good place where like your character designs feel fresh and different, and maybe even find a style that like feels like your own. I think if you follow all of those steps, then your output is just going to be instantly elevated above like all of the, like at the bottom of the pile is just all the AI slop. And then above
mm,
that, you've kind of got the AI videos that are made by like decent creators, but they just feel very safe and generic. And then
yeah.
like kind of above that, you've got the people who are kind of really leading the way in the industry, like Gossip Goblin is one of them. I always talk about him, and PJ Ace as well. Like these are the guys who, for me, are like the real innovators and like the creators who are. I think of loads more on Instagram and stuff, but like people who are actively pushing the tools and trying to find their own style rather than just
Mhm.
playing it safe and making a quick buck, essentially.
Yeah. There's also like one brand, no, I unfortunately can't remember the name. They're called something Brothers.
Mm,
I don't know, does that ring a bell to you?
I
Like
don't
I've
think
seen they
don't
work
think so.
with Logan Paul also, like they made some AI video, like they're also crazy good.
Mm,
I've seen them a lot of on LinkedIn and on YouTube. But yeah, I think also the biggest mistake I even made myself was also like skipping the idea. Like I just had an idea in myself and I was like, let's get into it.
mm,
But like the more you actually try out, the more you learn, especially like the skills you also provide, like almost in every video, some type of a skill for people to, help them with something. Obviously, it's a
mm,
lot easier for them, but like relying only on those skills won't get you far too. Like nobody's gonna read the skills, like how they're built, how do they work even. Like you gotta understand that first, I think, before you jump into anything.
yeah.
But yeah, there is for sure a lot of AI slop, a lot of mistakes that people do. Even people who are experienced in filmmaking, maybe they don't know how to use Claude, maybe they don't know how to prompt properly. Like
Mm.
there's always like these two sides. But what would you say was your like biggest mistake that you made and that where you learned like the most from it?
Uh, I can't think of maybe like a big one. I'd say there's lots of little ones that I still make sometimes where maybe like no, I tell you what, probably over reliance on AI, I think. And I started to tip into this, and I think thankfully I realized before I was too deep into that hole that I managed to kind of claw myself out of it. I think with AI, again, it's about finding the balance. And I think if you become too reliant on it as a creator, you end up suffering and your ideas can kind of get a bit like diluted, basically. And I can apply that to both, like, like if I was working on like an actual, let's say a short film itself, and let's say I had like the seeds of an idea and I just used Claude to help me piece the whole thing together. And none of it, like a very small amount of it came from me, like in an organic sense. But also, like, I can apply the same logic to YouTube. Like, there was a time not that long ago when every idea I had for like a video or a thumbnail or a title, I had to run through Claude. And it would tell me like, oh, you want to change this and that about the thumbnail because, if the viewer's looking at it on their phone, they won't be able to see this, and your expression needs to be more like this. And it just, I think AI is a facilitator. It's a tool. It's a creative assistant. But the second that it starts taking the reins, like I think you're in trouble. So that would be my biggest mistake, which I've hopefully rectified now. Like it's yeah, it's there to build on your ideas, not do it for you, I think. And the second that you start giving it too much control, your ideas lose the soul and they lose that individuality. So I would like that's why I was talking about the pre-production stage is so important, and like the soul of the idea is so important. Like get that right, and then start prompting, start generating. Um, that would be my biggest error that I regret and that negatively impacted my work and my videos and everything. Like you always know better than AI most of the time. Like I don't know better. Let's say I have to download a contract and put it into Claude, and it can talk to me about like legalese, or maybe I've got some like medical problem that I'm kind of worried about, and obviously it's still way better to talk to a legal professional or an actual doctor. But Claude is probably going to be able to give me a bit of a steer in those things. But
That's
as a
true.
creator, like as the person that actually came up with the idea, no one knows it better than you. So it's about not losing sight of that, basically.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Like even now, since you mentioned it, like I realized that also like myself, I sometimes try to look for the perfect output from the
Mm.
cloud, like all these models, and like the problem is that doesn't exist. Like every time you upload something to it, you ask for feedback, he'll give you feedback, you'll update it, then you'll go back to him, and then he'll find again something, and again, and
Mm.
again, and again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like there's this loop, and I think not only myself, probably a lot of people out there too, like we're stuck sometimes in this loop, and we're just trying to, get this perfect output, and then at the end it just gets, it,
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I
Yeah, it
think
doesn't get you anywhere.
they're designed in a way where like they will never like draw a line under a topic or like conversational workflow. Like they'll keep going and going and going. So they're always gonna like dig deeper or like ask another question, and then that's when you get stuck in that cycle. So I've got so many conversations like with Claude, for example, that just end very abruptly, and that's where I've got to the point where I'm like, I've got, in the nicest possible way, like I've got what I needed, and now
Mm.
I'm done. Like I don't need to keep going on this. I don't need to.
Oh yeah.
And again, like probably the best example I can use is my thumbnails. I think like there was definitely a stage not that long ago where I would just like hyper analyze like everything through Claude, and I would take all of the advice it gave me as like gospel. Like I have to enact these decisions that like these creative choices that an AI is telling me to, and eventually like I just thought like that's just so ridiculous. Like I know better than I'm a better YouTuber than Claude. Do you know what I
Yeah, for
mean? Like, and
sure.
I think differently to Claude. I have my own unique ideas. I have my own style that I've found. So nobody knows that better than me. Yeah, sure. Take advice from it and let it give you a bit of a steer, and borrow these little seeds from whatever LLM you use.
Mm.
But like, there's for me now when I'm working on a thumbnail, like I'm always waiting for a moment where like it kind of just clicks, and I'm like, that's it. Like that's what I was waiting for. And like if I can kind of sit back in my chair and go, that's it, then I don't
Mm.
need to ask Claude if
Anything
that's it.
else?
Like if I feel like no, that's the thumbnail, it's about learning when to like kind of put the pen down and just say we're done
Stop.
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually valuable. How do you call it? Like tips,
Mm.
actually. I think anybody watching this is probably in the same loop. Now, when it comes to, since we're talking about tips right now, or like these this knowledge, the mistakes we all made and learned something from it. If
Mm.
somebody came to you right now and I was like, Jack, I want to make my first, let's say, $1,000 with AI video. Like, if they were starting from zero, what would you suggest them? Like, start with this, go, then do this, and so on. Well, how would you, like, I guess, structure a smaller plan for them to follow?
So I would say first of all be honest with yourself up front that you're gonna have to invest. some of like probably a lot of your own time and some of your own money into getting started. Like it, as for any creative pursuit, I think people for whatever online get very um, finicky about credit cost and things like that, and just say AI is so expensive. But like, and that for me is it triggers me so bad. I'm sympathetic to people who aren't in the very fortunate position that I am, where I work with these companies and I do get given like free credits and stuff. But like, honestly, if people knew how much money it costs to make like a normal ad through like a big agency, you would not be making the comparison. So that's the starting point. Be honest with yourself that you're going to have to invest a lot of your own time into improving your craft, and some, hopefully not a lot of your own money, but a level of your own money into like gaining access to the tools. Once you've kind of got that out of the way, for me personally, I would focus on advertising essentially. Like the reality of any creative pursuit, industry, whatever you want to call it, is that the bulk of the money is in advertising, and a lot of like the most incredible people who go on to do very amazing creative things started in more of that vein. Like, for example, Ridley Scott started directing ads. Like he found the start of his career was making ads. The reason is sorry, is because like clients, brands, they always need a way to like essentially peddle a new product and convince an audience into thinking they need something when they probably don't. It's the harsh reality of advertising. So there's a lot of demand there, especially brands who might be like a bit smaller or maybe medium size, who are looking to get a decent quality ad for their product or for their service made with AI for less money than going down the traditional route and faster. Something that I also run into a lot. And again, a bit of like inside knowledge when I'm working with ad agencies is that the real benefit that they've locked onto is the ability to be very reactive to real world situations. And by that, I mean have an AI pipeline where they can throw in certain props that will interact with a certain brand character, let's say, and make an ad very quick, or piece of social content very quickly, that's very in the now, that relates to, so say, very weird example, but the date that we're recording this, the GTA 6, sorry, extended look goes live today on Netflix. So let's say that a brand was like, I want to make like a weird, let's say like an insurance brand who has a certain character, like wants to make like a parody of the GTA 6 hype, trailer, gaming in general, whatever, because it's part of the cultural zeitgeist at the time. Because of AI, they can do that. So like that's my very long convoluted way of saying that advertising is where the money is, specifically with AI, I think. And like I would be, if I was starting from scratch and I was trying to basically use AI to make money, I would be working with small to medium sized brands or clients to build them predominantly social ads with AI. And I would frame it in a way where it's going to save you time and money. You're still going to have a really nice degree of creative control. Yes, you'll have a bit less flexibility than what you might be used to if you've worked with any of these huge agencies where they're building assets from scratch in CG or something. But you're going to be able to be incredibly reactive to whatever's happening in the cultural zeitgeist at the time. And I would also try to really find your own style. Like, I think a lot of the best AI creators find a style, like an aesthetic vibe to what they do, hone it, and then stick to it. And that becomes like their thing. So, again, with the example of, I know he doesn't make ads, but Gossip Goblin, like his style is like instantly recognizable. Like it's grotesque and it's kind of like hazy and glowy, and there's a real, it's very technicolor, vibrant style, and like there's a really heavy layer of film grain, and you can just kind of instantly be like, oh, that's Gossip
That's
Goblin's
him.
work. And that again kind of circumnavigates this whole thing of like, oh, it was made with AI. At that point, you don't really care because you're so invested in like the style and the story that's being told that it just works. But yeah, I would take those tips, and I'd also like put value on what you do as a creator. Like, don't let people like trample all over you and make you do things for like dirt cheap. Because like, be
Yeah.
honest with yourself. If you're actually good at what you do, then like people should pay for that. Yes, they should pay less than going through an agency, but they should still pay you for your time fairly. And also, like, maybe if you're not that great and you're just starting out, like, be honest with yourself in that respect as well. Like, your rates may have to be lower, and you may have to build your way up to something that could become a full-time income and keep it as a side hustle for a little bit, work your way up, and then pivot over to that. So yeah, and you know, like, a lot of this work, like, you're not gonna start an Instagram account and then suddenly like Nike are like, oh,
Let's
brand
work with
with,
you.
yeah, creator with 0 followers, we're going to give you 10 grand to make us an AI ad. That's not how it works. But I've seen loads of AI creators who will make like unsolicited product ads for, like, Rourke Heath is a really good example. Like, when I first got into AI, I was watching a lot of his stuff, and he was making like these unsolicited ads for like vans that were
Yeah,
like really unique,
I remember
creative
that.
uses. Yeah, yeah, like he was doing something that no one else was doing, where he was like using AI to make these visuals that were like different and kind of stopped you from scrolling, but also like go like, wow, he made that with AI. Like, it looks really good, but also like he's applied it to an existing brand. And then I know, like, you know, he now knows people at Vans, and he got like
Yeah. Mm,
flown out to their offices in
yeah, that's
wherever they're
crazy.
based, and like all this stuff. Like, so I would be doing that. Like, that, and that kind of relates back to like investing your own time and money. Like, I think you
Mm,
kind of have to build some stuff for free when people haven't asked you to do it, to kind of
for sure.
establish yourself, sorry, and like prove you've got the know-how and the tools and your own style. And I think once you've kind of done that, hopefully you start getting actual business, you make money, you can reinvest, you get better and better, because it's there, like the opportunity is there. Like, you do it yourself. There's
Mm,
plenty of creators on the school community who do it themselves. It's just about, again, to be brutally honest, some
do
people
it.
are good at it, some people aren't. Like, some people have good ideas, some people don't. Some people are decent at running a business,
Yeah.
some people aren't.
Yeah, that's. I see also a lot of creators like on Instagram. They create these like anime videos, movie videos. Like it doesn't have like it's nothing to do with advertising.
Mm,
And if I was a business, like let's say an e-com brand, and if I wanted to advertise something, I would obviously go to someone who's actually making these spec ads
mm,
rather to someone who's just making some animations, some videos for nobody and nothing. Because I
exactly.
know this person at least understands. I think that's like one mistake a lot of creators do. Like
Mm,
I don't remember last time seeing someone like that actually creates ads. Like most of them just create some random videos and then they hope for the best. Like, okay, someone's gonna reach out to me. Maybe they will. You never know. And if someone reaches out, then what? Like most
mm.
people don't know what to do. Like, what would you say if you had to like explain someone in, let's say, 1 minute this part? I mean, if it's possible in 1 minute. But like, if a
Sure.
client comes to you and you signed him, like what then? I think most people don't know what to do.
Mm,
Like they just need, I don't know, some steps. Most people don't even know what's onboarding. Last time someone asked me what's onboarding,
mm.
and I was like, okay, I guess that's something new. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, it's really hard. You're essentially like taking control of a process which is usually handled by like multiple people at like an agency or creative studio. So I get why people feel overwhelmed and like unclear on what to do. I think the truth of the matter is that there's like a lot of different ways to handle that part of the process, and there's not necessarily any right or wrong way. At the same time, there are things that you should do and things that you shouldn't leave to chance. I think it's just about being really clear with the client at the start in terms of working out, like, what do they want to get at the end of said project, like, and at the, like, that will be, you know, how many assets do they want? It's probably going to be for social. Let's just say it's social assets, for example, for like TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Like, how many of those films do they want? What's the length of them? What's the actual goal? Like, what's the purpose of them that you want to fulfill? What style do they want? How many revisions do they expect? Do they want it supplied clean, i.e., like with no titles, legals, all of that kind of stuff, as well as a titled version? So it's about working out what you need to give them at the end of the process. And then I would say, like, you need to like get them to understand, get them to have fair expectations of AI tools and of you as a creator, because the fact of the matter is, yes, AI can allow you to be very reactive. It can save you a lot of time. It can save clients a lot of money, and it can produce very good results, but you can't use it in the same way as like a traditional VFX workflow where, oh, I want to go in and change this person's hoodie to be blue or their eye color to be green. It's possible, but it's not as simple as clients who are used to usual ways of doing things might think. So it's about working out what the client wants and then showing them honestly what's possible. The next stage, then, that's a really solid foundation, I would say, once you've done that. And, you know, there are various different outcomes from that. They might just say, you know what, we're not interested. And actually, that might not be the worst thing. Like, I'd rather be honest with a client and they go, you know what, it's not for us. Like, we thought it was going to give us more control than a normal workflow, but it's not. Like, okay, see you later. Like, if you don't want to go into something already on the wrong foot, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But let's say, and this happens plenty of times, yeah, this is what we want. Yeah, we understand it's AI, so it's not quite going to be the same as what we're used to, but I still want to do it. Then you basically have to work out, you've got a really good set of information in terms of like what the brand expects from you at that point. So you should be able to use that to work out A, like how long it's going to take you, B, what tools you're going to need to do that. And those things will in turn inform your cost, like your rate card. So I usually say to people, like, work out what you think is a fair hourly rate for wherever and I can't tell you should be charging $100, $500, $1,000 an hour, because I don't know whoever's listening to this how good they are. And the truth is, like, your rate increase, even me as a YouTuber, like, my rate increases based on my worth to the brand. So like, what I was charging when I first started making videos was like nothing, and now it's like a decent chunk, basically. So it's about working out, do some research, speak to other creators, work out what they're charging, work out where you are in that pecking order. Like, have you got a really good portfolio? Are you like tried and tested, in which case your starting rate, your hourly rate can be higher. If you're just starting out, it's probably not going to be that high. So it's actually fairly simple in that regard of like, I need to make this thing. I need this many hours or days to make this thing. I charge this amount of money for each hour. And then you can add a little bit of additional cost for like credits or like access to the tools or like a percentage of your Premiere Pro subscription or something like that. And then again, it's all about communication. You go as quickly back to the client as you can once you've worked that out. And I would say, like, let's say maybe you're like, this is going to cost $2,300. Like, maybe buffer that a bit to like round it up to $2,500, like to give yourself a bit of buffer. And if you think it's going to take 8 days, round it up to 10 days to be
Yeah.
safe, and say to them at the 10-day point is when you're going to receive your first whip, not feedback rounds before 10 days. Do you know what I mean? Like 10 days is the whip for the client, work in progress, or the first deliverable, and then they can feedback, and then you go through the rounds of feedback until you get to the point where they're happy. But again, they need to pay for that, so you factor that in. 10 days to get to the first deliverable, 5 days of feedback rounds, however many hours that is at your hourly rate. Boom. It's all about communication. It's all about planning. It's all about like giving yourself a little bit of flexibility. Like if with the amount of time that you've got to do something and the amount of money it's going to cost, I think give yourself a bit of a buffer. If you follow all of those rules, you'll already probably be in a better starting position than a lot of people. And once you've done it a few times, you'll kind of get in the rhythm of it. And yeah, I think you'll be in the swing of things after that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's great advice for anyone who's watching. I'm sure even myself, I actually also learned some stuff, but
Cool.
I'm sure like anybody else who's watching, like it's some good stuff,
Mm.
especially when you're working with like complicated clients. You have these people who will want to change every single detail. Like if you don't set the expectations in the beginning, then it's just your mistake,
Yeah,
my
that's
friend.
where
Like,
things go wrong. Like communication is so key. Whenever you're, even if you're not in the video production business, if you're just doing any sort of client serving, like service or anything like that, like whenever you're, we were talking earlier on, like I've had workmen at my house redoing my
mm,
driveway, like, and as soon as that starts as a transaction, right, where I tell them I want a new driveway, they tell me we can do this style, that style. What about the edges? Do we put cobbles at the edges, or do we have the little tiny stone things? Like,
yeah,
it's a collaborative process between me, who was essentially the client, and them, who were, you know, the at the end of the craft side of things, and had, you know, the communication broken down at any point of that transaction, which is completely different to what we're talking about, but the same logic still applies. Problems could have happened. It could have taken longer than they said it would. It could have costed more money than they said it would, and then obviously I'm going to be annoyed, and they're going to be annoyed,
yeah,
and yeah. So it's all about that planning, communication, being honest about your skill level, being honest about how much time you need, being clear about the tool. Really want to make sure that none of their assets are used to train AI tools. So there's that
yeah.
factor as
There's a lot
well,
of
where, like, are you going to be able to, have you got a really good rig and you'll be able to generate things locally, in which case you can ring fence it and make sure that when you put the brand assets in, they're not going out into training an AI tool, which a
models.
lot
Yeah,
of brands would be opposed to. There are certain platforms also who will actively indemnify you and therefore the brand. Like if, let's say, you generate something and didn't realize it bared a very strong resemblance to existing IP, and a whole legal battle started. If the brand that you use, the platform, sorry, that you used to generate through, had the right indemnification in place, you and the brand would therefore have that level of protection. So there is a lot to think about, I think.
mm,
But it's, starting your own business is hard, like in any profession. But I think, like, when you've run a few jobs, you'll learn a lot of things the hard way, is the honest truth. Set yourself up as best you can, and then learn the lessons as you go, adapt quickly, and you will get there. And, when you've done like 10 projects, if you're any good at what you do, like, you'll probably be away to the races. Like you'll start earning a good reputation, start making good money, and may hopefully be able to leave your current job. And you're a one-man AI studio that maybe flourishes into 10-man AI studio, and who knows what comes next.
yeah. Once again, great advice for anyone who's watching. I'm sure, like a lot of people, obviously have also wrong expectations in the beginning,
Mm,
but like all you need to do is just inform yourself. Like for example, somebody can learn a lot from this podcast, from another podcast. Like there's a lot of knowledge out there. Like all you have to do is just sit down and do the work. I
agreed.
think that's the most important stuff. And so this brings us to the last section, or like the segment of the pod where I told you we're gonna do some quick fire questions.
Yeah.
I'll ask you just a question. You can answer with one, two words, and that's it.
All right. It's going to be a
Anything.
challenge for me because I talk like, yeah, too much, but I'll try.
It's all right. It's all right. Even if you have to explain yourself, no worries.
Okay.
I'll just
I'm going to
start when you
try. I'm
just
going to try.
Okay, so one tool, if you had to choose one tool for the rest of your life, what would it be? Just one tool.
Seedance too.
Seedance too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One tool you would never go back to or never use it again.
Oh, that one's harder actually. Hmm. VO3, VO 3.1.
3.1.
It's pretty
Okay.
trash now, isn't
Um,
it? Sorry,
yeah.
Google. It's not very good anymore.
Let's say one platform you had to work on like for the
Uh,
rest of your life. Which one would it be?
that's really hard because there are so many good ones and they're good for different reasons.
Mm,
Um, can I give a two-part answer? And it's going to sound really staged and terrible because I work with both of these platforms at the minute, but there's a
oh,
reason that I work with both of them. I would say Higgsfield for simplicity, but
mm-hmm.
maybe not client work due to the recent T's and C's stuff. Or
Okay.
OpenArt would maybe be more client facing because it's really nice for like organizing your stuff and like the workflows and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's say those at the minute. Um,
Higgsfield and OpenArt. Okay.
I think so. Like they're the people that I work with, and it's not like
Mm,
I'm locked into saying that. It's like if you look back at my channel, I worked with a lot of other platforms before them, and then when my contracts ran out and I was renewing, like it was a very deliberate choice to want to continue engaging with those two platforms and have them top of my priority list. So
mm-hmm.
that's how I would answer that. Um, but I have to say, like, there are so many good ones out there, and it's all down to like the preference of the creator. Like we touched on, like something like Comfy UI might be a lot better suited to what you're doing
Oh, yeah.
if you want to be able to run it all like locally. Um, I really want to get into Figma Weave. Like, I want to try and use that more because I love my
That's what
node
I use.
based.
It's great.
Yeah, like I love my node based workflows coming from my VFX background anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
like my go-tos are just Higgsfield and OpenArt, but full disclosure, like I work with them, so there's just so many. There's a lot of good ones out there now with a lot of their own tools that they've added, and I think it's great. Like I think competition is a really good thing, and I don't think anyone should be like, right, I have to use Higgsfield or I have to use OpenArt
Yeah.
or I have to use 11 Labs. Like it's up to you. Ultimately, maybe it's better to go straight to for Seedance 2, Dramina, or
Mm-hmm.
for GPT Image 2, ChatGPT. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that either. Maybe you don't have to use a platform at all. It's whatever works best for you, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, those are two great platforms and a
Mm,
great explanation, honestly, on why which one you should use, especially also node-based. That's also another like I guess section.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Higgsfield is right now at the top of the game. I don't think like other tools come close to it. But yeah, Higgsfield and OpenArt. All
It's a
right.
hard one because like the thing with Higgsfield is everyone like for whatever reason like loves to hate Higgsfield and loves like on Twitter and stuff, like slating them and
Okay.
jumping on the bandwagon like whenever they do something that's that I think
Outside the box.
yeah, like they sometimes they employ some like tactics that I don't necessarily fully agree with. Like the whole
Mm,
T's and C's drama was in my mind a bit unnecessary for a platform so well established. But the fact of the matter is, like, what they just got valued at like 5.4 billion or something, and just had like I think 400 million invested. It's like you can say
that's insane.
whatever you want about them, like they're absolutely killing it. So hate on them all you want, they don't care.
That's insane. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they also don't care.
no.
But yeah. Um, okay, so I hope everyone wrote this down. Higgsfield, OpenArt, and some other tools we mentioned.
Yeah.
The next question would be now, if like one skill you think every filmmaker should learn, like regardless of how good the models become, like
Mm.
one skill they should master.
Storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah, which is multifaceted in fairness, but I
Hmm.
think all of this, all of a lot of what we do as people ultimately boils down to that.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. Yeah. Um, one thing about AI that like one thing about AI industry you think most people are getting wrong
Hmm. That it should be like either super cheap or free, I would say.
or easy, maybe even
Yes, yeah,
that.
that's better actually. Yeah, that it doesn't take any degree of craft or education. Yeah, let's do
No.
all three of them. That's
Mm,
good.
I will round it up to three.
Yeah,
All right.
but
And the
good
last
answers.
question I have for you is, what do you want to be remembered
As
when it comes
me,
to AI
me
video as a
personally,
creator? Yeah, like what do you want to be remembered for when it comes to AI industry?
I what do I want to be? Again, it's really hard to answer that with one thing. It's an open potter. Okay, I would really love to um help people who are not happy with their lives at the minute, but have good ideas and are good storytellers and have just always had that technical hurdle they can't overcome. So, like, my YouTube stuff is, and my school community and everything I do near enough is positioned towards those people who feel like they have more to offer and have good creative ideas, but just don't know, you know, Maya, Houdini, After Effects, like,
Mm,
or can't. You know, people talk a lot about like, oh, Nolan's so good because he does everything practically. Like, yeah, but he has the back. He's backed by like these huge studios. Not everyone can do that. So it's about empowering people to be able to actually bring their ideas to life, and hopefully that leads them to success. I'd hope that people remember me for being pretty honest about things, putting the tools through their paces, and being honest about what they're not so good at. Um, and I'd hope to make my like family proud, basically. Like if
mm,
in 10 years' time, if I had to make a lot of sacrifices to get to where I am now. And again, I'm not trying to sound like a martyr or like I've done anything. Like I didn't go to war, you know what I mean? But I invested a lot of myself and a lot of my own time, and therefore, like I've been a bit, I think, in retrospect, like absent as like a husband and a father. So I would like to look back and hopefully say that that absence was in some way not fair, but at least like justified to get me to where I am. And now that I'm a bit more established and hopefully continue to grow and earn more money and like facilitate the life for my family that I want them to have, they will understand why I did what I did and why sometimes, maybe I'm just always on my phone or always on my laptop and
mm.
not able to take my kids to the park and shit like that. Like, hopefully, this will improve now because I'm actively trying to improve it. But I hope that they look back and they're proud and they say, you built something, like you helped people, you built something, you built a brand, and now you're more present. Yeah.
That's a very, I would say, authentic and honest
Deep.
question.
Yeah.
Answer. Yeah, but and I also understand it in some way. I mean, I'm probably there's a lot of people who also understand it. For some of us, or for some of other people, it's not really understandable. But that's very everything is justifiable if that's the right word.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
When you're trying to
I
build
think
your own thing, like you do have to make sacrifices, but
yeah,
it's just about not losing complete sight of what's actually important. And the reality is that, like,
family health.
your family, yeah, exactly, your own health, like, those things are actually the top of the list, and like AI is actually kind of quite far below that, if you're honest with yourself. As much as I love it, and as much as it's changed my life, like my own health, the happiness and love that you get from people that actually care about you, that's the top. So, go on your creative pursuits. build yourself a brand that you're proud of, but just don't lose sight of like the things that really matter, the things that you can't buy, I guess.
Absolutely.
Mm,
That's very true. That's very true. Unfortunately, obviously, a lot of people do make some mistakes, forget about the family. For example, myself, I'm building my own family right now. I'm
mm,
planning on being a father soon. So, there's a lot of stuff you have to think about, but I'm sure like everybody is at their own stage. And maybe like one advice I would give to anyone who's watching this, don't compare yourself to others like who are ahead of
yeah,
you,
very
even
solid
if they're the
advice.
same age or something else. I think the best way would be just to compare yourself with yourself
Yeah,
from the last month, maybe. And I think
100%.
you'll do 10 times better.
I think that's
But yeah.
great advice. Yeah, if you, I mean, I'm even, I do it all the time. Like, obviously, I compare myself to other YouTube creators, and
Mm,
I look at how many views I get, and compare myself to somebody who's got like 300,000 subscribers or something, and then you kind of sit back and go, but that's not fair. Like, they've been doing it for however many more years than me. They've made 100 more videos than me, and
yeah.
like, you can apply the same logic to if you're starting building out your own AI agency. Like, yeah, there's definitely a level of like constructive criticism that can come from analyzing your peers and your competitors, but like there's also a point where it becomes like more of a hindrance where you're just like you're making yourself feel like crap because like you're not hitting the same goals as those people. Like, be realistic with what you can achieve and don't put so much pressure on yourself that you never sleep or something.
Oh, yeah, especially that. Especially
Yeah,
that.
that's not good. That the sleep deprivation will get you.
Yeah, sleep is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
yeah,
touching
Jack,
grass.
um, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for
You're
coming on this
welcome, man.
podcast.
Enjoyed
I
it.
hope you enjoyed it as much as I
I
did.
did, yeah. I always love talking about this stuff. I mean, I could talk about it all day, and I think the more people that talk about it kind of openly and honestly,
Mm,
it's that thing of helping people, isn't it? And try not to
obviously,
gatekeep
yeah.
too much.
Yeah, that's also like my goal. I thought to myself, like, let me get into this more,
Mm,
interviewing others, learning from others, but also like anybody who's watching this, I hope they enjoyed this podcast. I hope also they learned a lot from this. And I guess that would be it. I'm not even sure how to end this video, but um, hit the subscribe button. I'll leave the school community from Jack in the description. Also his channel. Make sure you check it out, guys. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye
lovely.
bye.
Thank you, guys.